Welcome to Live from Mars. My name is Alex. You may know me as Mars from TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you have found me. Welcome. And today we are sitting down to talk about yet another one of my top 3 albums of 2025. Today's special episode is going to be all about Something Beautiful by Miley Cyrus. This album is technically, according to Spotify Wrapped, my #1 album of the year. It is also probably what I would say without the stats, without the data to tell me that, I probably would have came to that conclusion myself. So this album is one that is incredibly divisive, and to talk about Something Beautiful, I couldn't think of a better person to tackle this crazy conversation about an insane album with than having good friend of the podcast, Nick Palmai, back on. Nick, you may know him as the guy who screams songs in the car. He is hysterical. He has become a great friend. I actually met him at the movie premiere of Something Beautiful. First time we got to meet in person, and that was such a fun experience. We're going to talk all about that. We're going to talk about the album Rollout, how the album Rollout either helped or hurt the actual album's performance and campaign and relevance today. We're going to play a little game of best worst fave, going through what our thoughts are on the best and the worst song from this album, what we loved about the production, what we loved about the songwriting, what we didn't love about the songwriting. So I'm really excited to tackle this conversation with him. But before we dive into the meat of it, a few housekeeping things. First and foremost, if you are not already subscribed to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, wherever you were listening or watching this, please make sure you do so. It means the absolute world to me. That is how we get the podcast to continue growing. If you are already subscribed, you can throw the podcast a 5-star review if you feel so kindly. And then outside of the podcast world, if you are not already over on Substack, that is my brainchild. In case you're not familiar with Substack, it's basically like you took Twitter meets an email newsletter meets a blog all in one. And that is what I love so much about the platform, because there are 2 sides to it. There's the free end of it, and then there's the paid side of things. The free end of it gets you a weekly newsletter that drops every single Friday called Now Spinning, where I go through each week's highlights of that week's New Music Friday. In addition to that, on the free side of things, you get access to the Life on Mars Discord. On the paid side of the coin, for $5 a month, you get access to the following. You get access to my completely unedited, unfiltered album, music video, song reactions, whatever kind of reaction content you've enjoyed from me in the past. All of it is up on Substack, exclusively untouched, unfiltered, unedited. Outside of reaction content, you also get first dibs access to any kind of artist interview I do. You also get access to my full-length written album reviews. You also get a second weekly newsletter called Pop Pulse that drops every Tuesday and goes through the biggest music news stories of the week. And that is all just for $5 a month. You can support me as a full-time content creator. It means the absolute world to me for those of you who have made the jump over there. I'm very excited about what's to come in 2026 with additional live streaming capabilities up on Substack. Everything's going to live there. So if you're not already on it, this is your sign to get on it. But without any further ado, no more blabbering. Let's talk Something Beautiful. Nick, welcome back to Live from Mars. I don't even know what number visit this is, but you are a resident of the planet at this point.
I am coming live from the car. I'm the guy
Live
that
from the
screams in the
car.
car if you didn't know.
I was going to say, give yourself a little intro, who you are, what you bring to the table, but
Yeah,
that's
I'm
the
Nick. I
TLDR.
scream in the car. I scream at concerts. I love Taylor Swift, Sabrina Carpenter, Miley Cyrus, of course. Big
Yeah.
pop fan. So we're going to chat about that today. I'm excited.
Yeah. I'm pumped. And when I decided to do this series again, because I really enjoyed last year, and I actually think that this Sabrina conversation about Short and Sweet may have been the first time that we got to like really talk.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
look at where we are now a year later. And
Yes.
Sabrina is not the album that we're talking about, but we both
And
love.
since then, we've actually met in person. That was the first time we ever met in person, thanks to this
Right.
album.
Yep. It's actually because of Something Beautiful that we brought our friendship in real life. It's a
That's
beautiful
right.
thing. It is something beautiful.
It is.
So we're going to dive deep into the world of Something Beautiful today. Probably the most in-depth review, conversation, whatever you want to call it, on this album that may exist on the interweb. And it is a conversation that I have been wanting to have for the last 6+ months, because this is, drum roll, this is my favorite album of 2025.
As it should be. It was Miley Cyrus always.
She hit it. She hit the nail on the head. But I know that this is not a commonly held opinion. I know that this album is one that was very divisive. I know that it was one that was critically mixed when it came to reviews. Commercially, it was not a success really whatsoever. And today, Nick and I are going to dive into why that was, what could have been done to improve the reception and the release strategy for Something Beautiful. And if you have not heard the project, I cannot tell you enough times this is something that is worth the listen, but we're going to get into all of this great stuff. I want to start off specifically with you, Nick. Tell me about your relationship with Miley. How did you become a Miley fan, and what has that evolution looked like?
My relationship with Miley Cyrus is crazy. Like that is my number one. Like I don't I talk about this in my videos and like online for sure, but I feel like it surprises people because she for so long wasn't super active in the music industry
I mean,
until like
is she now?
Flowers returned and then it was like, whoa, boom, she's back. But she's been my number one since she debuted, technically. Not I guess not since she debuted because she was like a literal child. But when Hannah Montana first started coming out, I was a big magazine collector. Like I always had the new J14M, Pop Star
Oh
Twist.
my
I loved all of
god.
those. I still have a giant bin of them all. Like I love it. And I remember being in a Walmart. This was my first Miley Cyrus moment. And on the back, I think it was a Pop Star magazine. It had the Hannah Montana with and it was like coming soon to Disney Channel with the date. And I was like, what is that? And I was like, okay, need that. Turns out it was already out. It came out like the week before.
March
And
March 24th, 2006, and
yes,
I know that date because I still vividly remember the day that this came out, watching the premiere episode and watching Disney Channel, and they were teasing Hannah Montana, this new show, and they had, like, the f minute 30 little music videos of "This is the life, best of both worlds," and I think one other that they would play
did I
to
got
get people.
nerves?
I think it may have been I Got Nerve or, like, something about Party,
Or
but it also came out the same night that Wendy Wu, Homecoming Warrior premiered on Disney Channel.
yeah,
It was a double feature, and
yes.
yeah, that was my intro to Miley, but continue.
Yeah, and so it turns out that that album, like the soundtrack was already out, and I grabbed my aunt I was with, and I'm like, "We need to go to the electronics now." And I bought it because I don't something about the picture just I was like, "I'm sat for this." And then I've been there since. Like she was my number one, like always, still to this day. Just I love her. I've loved everything about her. I don't know what it was. Like the show was everything, and then as she started making music, she just was such a different voice for me as a kid. Like I remember adults around me or like parents or like relatives would be like, she has a really like deep, manly, raspy voice. And I just loved it. And I'm
Yeah,
like, I love listening to her talk. I love listening to her sing. She's funny. Like I used to have a
yeah,
Hannah Montana. Do you remember what fat heads were?
yep,
Those giant life size stickers. I had
yep.
those all over my walls, all the posters from the magazines. She would always get the best spot on the wall.
Oh my
I used to
god,
glue up her
wow.
face on magazines when they started taking her off. I would cut out her face, glue them on the magazines she wasn't on. Like I was a Miley
Nick,
stand down.
my
I
god,
was
you
like,
really were. I did not realize it ran that deep. I know when we were at the premiere that you were like, "She's my number 1," but I didn't think
no,
it
it
was
was
that deep.
serious.
Cutting
I
out
had
pictures and stickers and shit. That's
every magazine.
unbelievable.
I needed it. I needed it all, and I still have it all.
She's been such a deep part of our childhoods, and I think that's part of what's always kept her at the top of my list as well. Not like hasn't been my number 1 forever, but she's always been somebody that I've tuned in to see what's going on in her life, to listen to the music, especially when she started venturing outside of Hannah and was moving more towards her own sound. And I remember, like, when Can't Be Tamed came out and the controversy surrounding that and the music video and Who Owns My Heart, and Stay on that album was, like, a deep soundtrack to 2010 for me. Bangers, the crazy controversies that came with that era, and then where she's gone since musically. But she's always been someone so integral to my musical identity, to your musical identity, that having that continue into adulthood has been so fulfilling, especially with this album.
Yeah, and she's kind of like we grew up with her in a way. Like she debuted when we were kids and she was a kid. And like just as she's grown, she's just always kept it so interesting.
It's also gotten to the point that, like, when she's been off cycle, I have gone out of my way, consciously and not out of the way subconsciously, to find other artists whose tone sounds familiar to me, like hers, to have in the meantime while she's been off cycle. And she's just someone who has that voice that is so instantly recognizable, who, as she's gotten older and more confident and sure of her sound, she's always taken the driver's seat when it came to her vision. Plastic Hearts was a huge highlight of 2020 for me.
Yes.
Covers that she's done continue to showcase her breadth as a musician and as a vocalist. And then with this album, it really just, like, all came together. I feel like Something Beautiful for me is the most Miley album that there is. Like, this album to me represents who Miley Cyrus is in my head and who she is working to present to the world. It felt like
Yeah.
those two things clicked.
It feels like a little chaotic. It's a little dark. It's a little light. Like it's got everything all the sounds she's done, but like in a blender and evolved into like what she is now. It's crazy.
Mhm. So In case those of you who are listening have not listened to the full album, quick little
Insane.
highlight reel of Something Beautiful dropped in May of 2025, and the Summer Vacation was right down the middle of the lane of pop music. This was far more risky than Endless Summer Vacation. Some of those risks paid off, some of them didn't. It debuted in the top 10 on the Billboard 200, but there was a very mixed reception from critics, despite instant praise for her vocals and highlighting the production on the album. Songwriting got a big hit, but it has kind of become this underground-ish fan favorite. Well, I want to know from you first and foremost, why is this one of your top albums of 2025 outside obviously of how much you love Miley as a person, as a celebrity, as a musician? What is it about Something Beautiful that stuck with you?
I think I loved that overall, like as an album, it sounds very cohesive and like they all belong on a project together, obviously. Like, even though they're kind of very different, like you could go from one song as like a slow ballad that she's belting to like a fun little pop beat that's like way more intricate than your standard pop beat, but it all still feels like it fits into one album. And I love when an album feels like an album. And even the cover art, maybe it's because it's a part of the visual film as well, but I felt like the cover also encapsulates what the album is, and it just feels like the moody intro you hear when you start playing the album. I love that about it. And it also just, I think it has some of my favorite Miley Cyrus songs she's ever released on that album. Like Golden Burning Sun, Obsessed,
Oh,
Easy Lover was immediately a yes for me. Like there's Every Girl You've Ever Loved, like the beginning intro of that just sends you to another planet. And like the album
totally.
as a whole feels a little more moodier and darker than her past work.
100%. And it's far louder and darker and more experimental and
Yeah.
instant, like incredibly cinematic. And that
And I
ties into
feel
the fact there's a visual film with it.
the more you listen to it, the more you pick up even in the production of it. It's so interesting to listen. Like you just hear all these little different unique sounds that you don't typically hear from your standard pop album where it's like, what was that? What were they doing in the background there? And like the
Yeah.
more you listen to it, the more you pick those out.
Let's start with the initial rollout of the project because we can't talk about this album without talking about the release strategy. I think that is the core, possibly, of what could have been done differently. So, to set the stage, the album was announced and was released with two songs, Prelude, which is the first on the album, and then the title track, Something Beautiful. And then a few days later, End of the World was released as, I guess, the first technical single from the project.
Yeah, they announced it on the Monday and then the two songs dropped with it the same day,
Hmm.
right? Yeah.
Right. So look at that strategy. What was your perception of this choice? Like this was a very clear choice. And on one end of the spectrum, they did what they did, where you had those three songs come out before the album came out, and then Easy Lover ultimately was released as a single when the album dropped. And then on the flip side of it, you could have released the entire thing as one project, the way that Taylor Swift does, the way that Beyonce does, Billie Eilish did it with Hit Me Hard and Soft. There's something about an album in air quotes that feels best suited for the latter strategy, but they chose to go with the single droplet strategy. What is your take on that? And how effective do you think it was?
I didn't love it, and I don't think it was very effective at all. I think it did the reverse. So, like, when they first dropped the two pre singles, like, we had heard rumblings Miley was about to do something. We knew something was going to happen at some point, and then the beginning of the week, we got the post that she was releasing a new album. And the same day that they announced that a new album was coming out, I think if I'm remembering correctly, she wanted you, I don't know whose decision, to listen to the album in order. And they announced the two singles that were dropping that day, which were very, I don't want to say experimental, but they're not like as easily
They're
digestible to
experimental.
the general public. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, Something Beautiful is very experimental, but they're not very geared to the general public. Whereas End of the World, which they waited to release on the Friday that same week on like a normal release schedule kind of thing, all new music comes out on Friday. That was the heavy hitter, in my opinion. End of the World is an incredible song. That was like my second most streamed song of the year.
I don't
Um,
know how it wasn't bigger. It
right?
had,
It
like, everything
blew
on paper.
my mind.
Everything on
And I
paper to be this undeniable smash hit, like, even better and bigger than Flowers, and Flowers is one of the
yes,
biggest songs of all time. The way that it leaned into, like, the classic ABBA sentiment, it felt like something that could have been from the '70s, but Miley brought her own flair to it. Vocally, she sounds great. It has a really instantly hookable melody, especially the chorus, and
yes.
crickets. Like, it just didn't move.
And I think it was because of the two singles. Like, I think the people that were anxiously awaiting her return thought that was the return and were like, "Oh, I don't love this that much. Bye." And then when the actual single to launch the album came out, End of the World, people kind of were tuned out because they thought they had heard the little preview that we were getting of what the album was going to be and they weren't as sat for it as they thought they were going to be. And I think if they just started with End of the World, even this was always my thought that they should have done, drop all three of them on the Friday, make End of the World the main event, but then you can still instruct or request that people listen in order as you wished. You know, if their goal was, I want people to listen to this album in order, drop all three at once. But as like a little, you're not advertising that you're dropping all three, but it just comes as like a single pack. That would have made more sense if that was the goal that they wanted people to listen in order. But I would have just started with End of the World.
Listen, let's just call a spade here. This album was released horribly. You can't blame one person. It wasn't just one person's choice. This was a bigger conversation behind the scenes. But when you have an album that is such an album, like this is an album. This is not a collection of potential singles. This is not you have three potential hits and then the rest of them are all filler. Like this album is an album in the way that Folklore is an album, the way that Renaissance or the way that Lemonade is an album. Like these are bodies of work meant to be consumed as so, and to release it the way they did sold it completely short. Like there is no redeeming quality to the way that this album was put out there because it was such a constant yin and yanging of two different worlds, and that is ultimately what I think hurt this album when it came out in full. Is there for first off, this was positioned as a concept piece. It's a concept album about something beautiful, but like I couldn't tell you what that next level deeper was. Like, this is a concept piece, but what was the concept? Where did it go other than just saying, this is the collection of songs that I think are beautiful? This is a collection of songs that are very, very loosely strung together in a way that didn't do it any benefit. Like, that didn't do it any good. And
Yeah.
I wished that that concept was thought out more to make this feel like a more cohesive body of work. All of these songs, other than like one or two that I don't return to as often as the rest, have been in constant rotation for me. Like these are all, like you said towards the beginning of the conversation, some of her best work ever. This is exactly the album that I've always wanted her to do in this really boundary pushing, genre bending way, and bold experimental choices, like the way that the song Something Beautiful is two songs in one, constantly trying to compete for the dominant role. You have this more
Yeah.
calming presence, you have it be a little more ballad heavy, and then it just completely explodes. And I'll never forget listening to that for the
Literally
first time.
explodes.
Literally explodes. Smash, bang, whatever the other word I'm forgetting,
Arc.
but like spark, yeah. I'm like, this is such an interesting song, an interesting move for her as a musician, as a career artist. Where is it going to go next? In fact, it's going to go next down the ABBA lane. But wait, we're going to go into a more 90s style
I will always love you.
I will always love you, Whitney Houston kind of angle, but then you go into Easy Lover, which is a little bit more back in the ABBA lane in the 70s funk. And then you have Golden Burning Sun. Like these songs are so good from a production angle. Listen, like the songwriting is not always sensical. It doesn't always add up, but like I am obsessed with this album because of the world that it creates. Even though that world doesn't really have set guidelines and rules and boundaries, it is just so interesting to listen to. I know that was like a huge run on, and I don't even remember what the start of that was from, but like this album means so much to me, and I just wish it got the treatment that it deserved.
Yeah, and like as you said, it's like the cohesive part of it. I said it feels like one of her most cohesive bodies of work. I don't think lyrically and storytelling wise it's very cohesive, but sonically, yes, they all sound like they belong in the same world. But as you said about Something Beautiful, the title, and even tying in the visual film, I
Yeah.
kind of expected more of a plot line to
Yeah,
tie
we
in
gotta
the
talk about
album
that.
more. Mhm.
So let's fast forward from released promo single day to the short film. So, well, not even a short film, it was like an hour. But Nick
Yeah,
and I went to the Spotify screening, and I have my little popcorn bucket if you're watching the video version from that. I also have the notebook that was given out like right under my laptop here. And this was such a fun day to get to witness it in theaters, to see the film at the same time as hearing the album for the first time was the way that I wish everyone got to experience it, which very much wasn't because the movie wasn't A, available in all theaters, B, wasn't available, I think, the same week. I think it maybe came out at a different
it was a
point.
month after.
A month after. Yeah,
It
makes
came out
no
like
sense.
late June, mid June, late June.
Weird. And then also putting it up on streaming late, like
And
it
to push it as a visual project and not drop the visuals immediately is so crazy to me. Like
so
that was the big
weird.
seller.
Shooting themselves in the foot. It should have been consumed as the package that we got. And also, we got Miley there in person to hear
Best
the
day of my life.
Q&A. Yeah, like, we were literally 3 feet away from her.
Almost didn't make it in. Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
We This is the first time we ever met, and we're in a line. We're in like the line all the fans got invited to, but we were like sent offers to come preview it early as like a creator instead of a fan. And so I asked security when I came up which line I was supposed to stand in. I showed them my correspondence with who I was speaking with, and they're like, "Oh, yep, that line." And so I'm like, "Okay." And then Alex comes. We meet for the first time, and we're all in this line, and we're seeing other creators go to the other line. So we're like, "Oh, we're in the wrong line." We go up to the door, and they're like, I don't know. Like, your names aren't on here. And I'm like, the person I'm talking to is inside. Please go. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And
Was
they're like, just
so
go stand back
embarrassed.
in that line. And I flew to another I'm Canadian, so I'm in a whole other country. I was there for less than 24 hours just for this. And I'm like, there's no way. I just took a 6 hour flight to get here, two flights, 6 hours total, to
Oh my
stand
god.
outside and wait. And so she makes us stand in line still. And I'm like panicking. And I'm like, there's no way this is happening. And then she comes out and she's like, so sorry, come with me. And we're like, thank God.
Thank God. I was freaking out. It was so uncomfortable. We
It
waited
was,
outside for, like, a good 45 minutes waiting to get into this theater. Honestly, I don't know how there was room for everybody because it was not a big theater whatsoever, but it
yeah,
was such a cool experience.
it was. It was very intimate. It was like she walked in the theater and you're like, oh my God, hey, you're right there.
Like, it was 3 feet from me. It was incredible, and to get to experience the music with the film, like you said,
For the
had no
first
plot.
time, too. Like, this was a few weeks before the album came out as well. Like, we went at the
Yeah.
beginning of May and it came out at the
Yep.
end of May. So we got like an early preview where it was like, you couldn't even listen to it again after you left, which
Right.
was torture.
Torture, because I also forgot what so many of them sounded like, which then made my, like, first real, like, solo
Yeah.
listening experience so rich again because it was like experiencing the entire thing again. But
Yeah.
the visual aids very much contributed to the visions of the album that I had in my head, and to not have it as a companion piece on release day was crazy bonkers to me. Like, it needed that, but also the visual film, you said it, had no plot. There was no plot. It is a collection of 13 music videos, or 12, and then Give Me Love is playing during the credits rolling. Like,
Yeah.
it was just a collection of high fashion Miley strutting around music videos. And,
Yes.
artists are gonna set their own creative visions and are gonna do what they want to do, but there could have been something added to the visuals to make it feel required for the experience.
And I like feel like what you said about it being so close to almost making sense as a visual. I think what I was expecting of the film, the way it was promoted, the way it was like a big pop opera and like a look into the industry, I was expecting it to be moving through her filming all these videos, doing all this fun stuff, and then like in between, maybe in the interludes or like in between transitioning to the next song, you would see her like struggling as an artist and like working through being in pain from just putting on a giant show for people. She's on the stage a lot, she's performing, and I almost thought it was going to be a project about like being an artist in the industry. And like, it is beautiful. Like, this is what you get to see. And then you see behind the scenes, it's not as beautiful. Like, that's what I expected because the trailer, when she's walking through the dark areas, when she's in the
Yep.
back anyway, I thought it was going to get
Yep.
like a little
On
dark
set.
about the industry. And she would be like struggling, bruised, like a little bit like, okay, now I got to whip it together and we got to do this next video. Like that, I thought that's what it was going to be. And then it just was, oh, it's just videos, which I loved. I love Miley Cyrus. So it's great to watch her for an hour just serve, but it didn't serve a purpose. I also remember briefly she was getting questions about touring. And this is when the visual made a little bit more sense to me on the lines of what she was thinking. She said something about, not verbatim, of course, but if I'm not touring, this was my way of you getting a visual experience of the songs, like how I would be on stage. And I'm like, well, that makes sense. Like, that's what that is basically. Like, you could have put those sets on a stage and performed it just like that.
Yeah.
And if that was the point the whole time, maybe say that.
I don't know. Everything that, like, I feel like this, talking through this, it feels like so much like I'm imagining soggy, like, wet paper thrown at a wall in all different colored paper, and just it all stuck. So we're just going to run with it. Like, there
Yeah.
was no through line between the visuals, between the songwriting, between the production, between the differences between all the different production styles and the genres that she's crossing, and the concept about what something beautiful actually means. It was just all messy as hell.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of Miley sometimes, is the mess.
Yeah.
But also, we can't talk about the Something Beautiful rollout without talking about the third person of it all.
Yes, that was the
So,
worst.
yeah, so I don't know whose choice it was to do that, but for the first little bit of this album campaign, in case you forgot or weren't tuned in, Miley was referring to herself in the third person for every single post that was promoting this project. And to make an album that felt so personal to what Miley wanted to create feel so impersonal through the third person usage was a crazy choice. And it got such flack that they reverted away from it like halfway before the album even went
Yeah.
through the campaign.
It just didn't land. It was very impersonal. It was very cold. It was very industry. Like someone just typed this up very professionally. Here you go. And it reminded me of like back in the day, like in the 90s and the 2000s when like Britney would drop a new album. The label would put out a release to let everyone know.
This album deserves so much more, and it hurts my soul that it didn't get the love that it deserves, but that is
Right.
our job. So I want to transition now into the beauty of this album, why it is my number one album of the year, why it's one of your favorite albums of the year. Let's do that by playing my favorite game, Best Worst Fave. I want to know what
Okay.
your take on this album is, what you think the best song, the worst song, and your personal favorite song is on Something Beautiful.
The best is hard because I love so many of them. And like, I want to say Golden Burning Sun because that's the one I visit a lot, but Every Girl You've Ever Loved and also Reborn, those three kind of fight each other for my top spot. Reborn is just
Reborn.
such a heavy hitter for me where I'm like, what the fuck did they put in this song? Like it just hits you in the chest every time. I love it. But I think if I'm going off, like Golden Burning Sun is probably my favorite. Best, okay, actually, best might be Reborn or Every Girl You've Ever Loved because I love the production on Every Girl You've Ever Loved. Like specifically back to our vinyl days when we were big vinyl creators.
My
I
God.
love spinning Every Girl You Ever Loved on vinyl. Hearing what is it, a saxophone in the beginning?
Yeah.
Oh my, it's beautiful. I love, like, so that might be the best. I don't know. But worst, like, none of them are bad to
We're
me.
not gonna
Some of
count
them I
we're
don't
not gonna
visit.
count the prelude and the interludes.
Okay. Because I was going to bitch out and pick one of those.
I know, but that's a cop out, and I'm not allowing that.
What if I pick a worse song, but I also love the song? As a whole, I feel like the weakest song,
Yeah.
production wise, and like just as Easy Lover. I love Easy Lover. That was almost in my top 5 Spotify Wrapped, but I feel like Easy Lover doesn't match the energy of or the quality of the rest of the album, if that makes sense.
Hmm,
So I don't think it's a bad song
interesting.
at all. I love that song so much. But if we're stacking them, it might be that one. Yeah. In the grand scheme of the album, Easy Lover is the most basic song on the album. And I love a basic song, but that's how I'm gonna choose.
Okay, so best was Reborn.
Reborn or Every Girl You Ever Loved.
Okay. Worst is Easy Lover, and then favorite, Golden Burning Sun, you said.
Yeah. I don't know if Every Girl You Ever Loved is the best though. I'm gonna swap it for Reborn. Only because I love Naomi Campbell's part in Every Girl You Ever Loved, but it's not necessary.
You're gonna have a field day with this. Okay. My take for the best song on Something Beautiful,
I think I know what you're gonna pick though.
I don't even know what I'm gonna pick.
Oh, I feel like I do. So carry on.
Wait, I actually like I don't know what I think the best song on this project is because I'm torn in such complete polar opposite directions that on one hand, I want to say the title track because it's just so experimental and I love the yin yang of it where it starts off so calm and beautiful and relaxing and almost like chill, and then it completely explodes into another world, and then it comes back to the chill world and it goes back to the explosions, and then it just rides you out into this psychedelic electric guitar drums that are just so enticing to me. And that part of it that I love is reflected in what I think may be the most underrated song on this project. The other option that I'm toying with for best, but I think I'm still going to keep it as the title track, but I'm going to speak to this one anyway. Pretend You're God.
That's what I thought you were gonna pick.
Oh, okay. You knew it better than I did.
It is a
This song
masterpiece.
stopped me in my tracks. Like, I could not believe what I was hearing. And this is another one of the songs to me that just felt so true to who Miley is. Maybe more in like a 2019, like she is coming part of the world of just like being a little bit more out there, a little bit more upfront with where her influences were, whether it's like during the Bangers era, during Dead Pets. This song feels very indebted to Dead Pets to me. So
I will
Pretend You're
argue that
God.
it's Dead Pets and Can't Be Tamed. That's what it
Yeah.
gives to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's right. I think you're right on that. This song, just like the beauty behind it is how hypnotizing it is. And then right as the song is coming to what you think may be a close, where the bridge is coming through, it's atmospheric, the production is taking you to another world, and she just is simply saying,
Is
I'm
it He's
haunted.
Haunting Me?
I'm
Yes.
haunted. He's
I
haunting me.
love that. It gives
And
you chills.
there's after she's finishes going down that lane, the drums come through and it's like it goes into like a 5 little repeat of very quick, succinct drums, and then it just goes off. And I lost it when I heard this. I'm like, literally, where in the world are we going? To the point that my copy of the album up here, when I went to Rough Trade and I got to meet her, I got to talk to her about it. And I was like, the drums on Pretend You're God are truly one of the best things I've ever heard musically. And she was like, that was all Max, her boyfriend, now fiance. So
Say,
after I finished talking to her and took my picture with her, I went over to Max and spoke to him and I said, like, I got to hear how this came to be. And he told me the story of it. And then he signed the album as well. And I
I
have her
love
say,
that.
she's up here and he's down here. He drew a little smiley face on it
That's
and signed his
so
name.
sick.
And this is literally my prized possession now because of that story and this interaction. And this
Get
album,
that in one of those sleeves that like covers the whole thing.
I know. I think I need to do it because it's not in any sleeve right now, and it's signed by both of them, and this is just so important to me. This
Yes.
song is otherworldly. Like, this is a song that deserves to be in the Hall of Fame of Miley songs, but it's the most avant-garde, heavy, intense alt-rock moment on the album that to me is unlike anything else I've really heard from her before, and it is captivating. So that is
And the visual that goes with it is so
yeah,
simple but so effective. She exudes the aura of the song in
yeah.
just with her facial expressions and the way she's like performed.
Wind,
Wow.
the green, and it's all so visually engaging. You know what? Maybe no, I want to keep the title track as I think the best, just because I feel like it is the album's thesis statement and it does a good job of summarizing where we're at. But Pretend Your God is right there. The worst
Okay.
song on this album is Every Girl You've Ever Loved from Naomi Campbell.
It's no, it isn't.
Sorry, it
That's
is.
not true.
The lyrics are bad. The lyrics are bad. And I think
No,
the
they're so
production
good.
is really fun. I match my bag to my new dress. I'm still looking like a 10 while my hair is a mess. And I'm going to work
So
it all
good.
night till I get what I want. Yes, yes, yes. No, I can't believe that you're still holding out on me like a dog in the street. What?
That's bullshit.
What?
Why are you still holding out? And then, but then it gets kind of like she's kind of presenting it. This is how I kind of take it. Like those lyrics, yes, very simple. Then it's like almost her. I don't want to say cry for help, but in that world where it's like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Aren't I pretty enough for more than a hookup at night? Like you're looking for the one, but one is never enough for you.
I think that first verse is really rough, and then the second verse is a little bit more redeeming. I love the lyric, "I give you every single color that there is in a flame that's burning with desire." I like that a lot, and I can hold you like a man and let you cry like a child, follow you like a shadow. I really
That you
enjoy
see,
those.
it
Yes, but
progresses.
then,
It's like
like,
her stuff. I look at it as like not a situationship, but like let's dumb it down. A situationship where you're like, I don't care. Like, I'm out here looking great. I could do whatever I want. Who gives a damn what they think? And then she hits the course and she's like, well, you still don't want me. What's wrong with me? Like, aren't I pretty enough for blah, 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 blah? And then she starts not pitching herself, but almost like
I'm
selling
a little bit
herself to be
angel, I'm
like,
a
try
little
to
bit not.
convince him. Yeah, it just feels like she's like, love me, bitch. What are you doing? Come on. What, like, look at who I am. And then it turns
No,
into a
I
little
get
more
that.
vulnerable.
I
Yeah.
get that, but I think that this song is a little too disjointed for me. I think that the whole Naomi Campbell part of the outro is so campy and it's fun, but it has nothing to do with the main part of the song. The
Yeah.
production is
That's,
fun, the production is engaging, but this is kind of the general trend that I have with this album is that a lot of time the production is so much stronger than the lyrics that this is one where you really felt it for me. So
that's
I'm
fair.
gonna land with that.
Fine.
My favorite song on this album, you know it.
Yes.
Same as yours. But my favorite song on this album is the same as yours, and it's Golden Burning Sun. This
Golden
was
Burning Sun.
my most streamed song of Spotify Wrapped 2025. I think that this song is what I want to hear when I enter the gates of heaven one day. Like, it is so unbelievably beautiful. And the visual, dude, the visual of her on the motorcycle in sunset and the reds and the
Perfect.
oranges, and I'm seeing it in my head right now. It's just everything to me. And I love the songwriting on this one. I think that this to me is where everything kind of comes together in this perfect world that she tried to create with this project. And it's done so beautifully with this song. The intro having the sound of the motorcycle itself, it's so romantic. I'll tell everyone you're the only one I want. Can I have you if I never let you down? You're the only one under the golden burning sun. We'd go swim in the water, then have dinner with your father. I close my eyes and I see it now. Like, and then during the bridge where it's just like surrender, like give me everything of yours, just surrender to this moment. It's such a
Yes.
simple word that is repeated over and over again. Just surrender to me and like let's be in love together. And then the bridge, the way that her vocals are produced on this bridge where her harmonies are being stacked, and you really feel like you're floating up into the like ether.
Literally.
There were fireflies in summer air, bare skin and knotted hair, burning sun up in the sky. I didn't notice, so lost when I'm in this moment. And it's 10 out of 10. 10 out of
It
10,
literally sounds like you're on a sunset drive in the summer. And everything's orange, like it's beautiful.
which
And
is my
it
favorite
was
thing in the world.
also a rework because it leaked 2 years before. Like, people thought it was gonna be part of Plastic Hearts, and then it was never a part of Endless Summer Vacation, so we thought it was gone forever. And then sitting in
Yeah,
that theater, listening to it and hearing how different it was, because obviously it's been circulating online for a long time. You were bound to hear a snippet or 2 of it, and I absolutely was floored at what she did with it because it's so completely different and better in every sense of the way. Any way it could have gone better, it did, times 10.
I totally forgot about that piece, that it was technically
Easy
living the
Lover. Easy
previous
Lover
life.
was a scrap from Plastic Hearts.
Yeah, and that was supposed to be Easy Lover was supposed to be submitted for Beyoncé for Cowboy Carter, and they
Yes.
wrote Easy Lover and they wrote Two Most Wanted. They went with Two Most Wanted for the project, but one of my favorite things that she revealed to us during that screening was that the Tell 'Em B in Easy Lover was supposed to be for Beyoncé, but then they ended up getting Brittany Howard to play on the song, and the B is for Brittany Howard now.
Yeah.
I love that piece of it. So to start wrapping up our convo on this incredible album, where would you like to see Miley go next? Do you see her continuing down this experimental rock pop lane and becoming just an artist that does whatever the hell she wants continued? Or do you see after this, let's call a spade, this flopped, are we returning back to a more mainstream pop lane?
I think if it's up to her, she's going to do whatever she wants because it's what she always does. And we've also seen with her over the years, she's already been talking about how she's ready to work on the next one. It's going to be the most experimental thing she's ever done. But her
Yeah.
mind changes a lot. So when she said that back then, may not be the case anymore. So I genuinely never really know what to expect from her. And that's part of why I love her so much. You're always going to get something fresh and something different. You just don't know what it's going to be. So
Yeah.
I could see her sticking with more experimental and like not really chasing the highs of it all because it just seems like she doesn't really care about that anymore, which is totally fine. But I genuinely don't know, especially with the big year coming up next year of 20 years of Hannah Montana. No one really knows what's going to happen with that. So for her personal music wise, I don't know. I could never tell you.
Yeah.
I
I
would
don't
love
know
to
either
see her
because
do more like the ABBA bits she did in Something Beautiful, like End of the World. That was perfect for me. I would love to see her explore that more.
agree with you. I think the ABBA lane is really good for her. I think that it feels nostalgic while also being timely. It feels true to her musical influences and her inspirations, but she's more than just a 70s pop rock influenced artist. She has the Pretend You're God side of her. She has the Dead Pet side of her. She has the Plastic Hearts and the Rock element where she's performing an incredible cover of Zombie by the Cranberries. Like, she's
Yeah.
such a diverse artist, and I felt like this project spoke to that diversity by tackling so many different genres and production styles and instrumentation choices. I just wish it meshed together better. I just wish it meshed together better because like these songs as individual songs are some of them are so good. I just want everyone to hear Golden Burning Sun and levitate like I have. That's all I
Right?
want.
I hope one day it becomes like a cult classic and it gets its moment in the future. I would love that.
Well, thank you for coming on. It's always a pleasure to have you on the podcast. I love talking music with you. I love talking about Miley with you. I really hope that for those of you who maybe you listened to Something Beautiful when it first came out, it didn't land for you, you never revisited it. Hopefully, this conversation inspires you to give it another listen. If anything, Golden Burning Sun, as we have both
Please.
said, it's our favorite. But thank you for coming on. Feel free to plug yourself wherever anyone can find you screaming in the car.
Yes, thank you for having me. I love talking about Miley Cyrus and music in general, and it's so fun to chat with you. So it was a great time. You can find me screaming in my car on TikTok, Nick Palmai one. Find me on Instagram, same thing without the one. I'm
Easy.
the loud guy. You'll see me.
You'll hear him.
You'll
You
hear
may
me for
see him and
sure.
you'll definitely hear him.
I'll make
Awesome.
sure
Well,
of it.
yeah. Well, thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Live from Mars. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you all next time.